10 years ago, the sport of horseback riding stole my heart. I began at a small schooling barn until I was lucky enough to get my first horse, and I transitioned into the riding discipline called eventing, which is a mix of dressage, cross country, and show jumping. I became a more competitive rider and dreamed of someday representing the United States. So, at 15, I decided to attend an intensive summer eventing camp with Olympic rider Heidi White. During one of my first training sessions there, Heidi put me on the most difficult horse in the barn, Charlie. I had never been inside the barn before, and upon walking in, I noticed a small sign near his stall that read, "Be fearless in the pursuit of what sets your soul on fire." I heard the signaling whistle from the arena, and I walked with Charlie to my lesson. Within the first few minutes of my ride, he reared up and I fell off, watching him gallop away from me to the barn. Tears burned my eyes as I walked up to retrieve him from a barn hand who brought him back for me. My scraped knees bled through my riding pants as I continued through my lesson, and I found myself distracted, thinking about my fall. Right after this lesson, my trainer moved me up to the group level. She said that she saw talent in me, but I wasn't sure why. How can I possibly be talented if I just fell off? The next day, I eagerly ran up to the whiteboard to see what horse I would be riding in my first group lesson, and of course, it was Charlie. I gazed at the wooden poles as my trainer raised them higher from the ground. It was my turn to jump the course. I took deep breaths as my heartbeat quickened. At the third jump, Charlie slid to the side and I fell off. I could see the brown blur run fast and far until stopping at his stall. He watched me as I hastily limped up to the hill to get him, unable to control my tears this time as I heard the older girls snickering and my trainer calling my name, asking if I was okay. Once I got up to Charlie's stall, I let him inside of it and did not go back down to the ring. I waited in silence for my mother's familiar white car. My daze was interrupted, though, as I saw a girl from the lesson approaching me. "I'm really sorry about today," she began. "Maybe it means you should stop riding my group." The girl spit as she hissed, a malicious intent laced in what I first thought was a comforting act. I kept my eyes low as I told my mom I wanted to quit riding with no explanation. I was restless that night, and after trying to fall asleep for hours, I picked up my phone and turned to Facebook. I was scrolling through until my eyes met one post specifically. A girl from my group had posted a picture of her at the barn, and in the background, I could see the sign hung up near Charlie's stall. The picture was silent, of course, but I heard a lot of noise. I realized that this decision was in my hands. Even if I might not be the best, I wanted to try again. I went back to the barn in the morning. We had our first cross-country lesson that day, which is definitely the most challenging and intense of the 3 phases in eventing. I checked the whiteboard again. Charlie. It didn't take long. My back hit the dirt and I saw him take off. But this time, I found myself sprinting towards him and meeting him at his stall quickly before I even realized it. I jumped on his back swiftly and rushed him back to the lesson. I saw the girls in my group snickering, but I could not hear them. I asked my trainer for the course. Everyone glared at me like I had lost my mind, but I had a point to prove. Not to them, but to myself. One of the girls suggested I attempt this one particular jump that Heidi loved, but unbeknownst to her was feared by all of us. I knew it was to spite me, and I knew she wanted me to fail. There was a pit in my stomach, but I thought about the Facebook post I had seen. The literal sign in the picture was a sign for me to keep going. I threw my fears to the side and took off for the jump, soaring over it and hearing quiet gasps from my group. At the end of training camp, Heidi got me a gift, a poster bearing the words in the sign and a stuffed brown horse. Charlie has a designated spot on my desk. Champions focus on themselves. They work hard to beat their own records. Their biggest competitor is their own mind. That year, I was ranked #1 in the Northeast for my division. That year, I qualified for the Equestrian Junior Olympics. That year, I realized that if I didn't get back up every time I fell, I would never have the chance to succeed. On freshman move-in day here at Georgia, I was unexpectedly greeted by a familiar sight. As I walked into my new dorm, slightly petrified for what was to come, I noticed a small handwritten sign under my roommate's bed. It read, "Be fearless in the pursuit of what sets your soul on fire." My dreams may not include a spot on the U.S. team anymore, but these opportunities created new fire in my soul. And that day, I realized that I was ready to be fearless in this new lifelong pursuit.